I've sat on this bench for many years. I've watched thousands of people walk through those courtroom doors. Nervous teenagers, hardened repeat offenders, single parents clutching paperwork with shaking hands. I've seen arrogance. I've seen fear. I've seen regret. But there was one Wednesday morning I will never forget. My bailiff leaned in before the docket began and quietly informed me that the next defendant had already been difficult with court staff. Dismissive, argumentative, refusing basic instructions. I nodded and prepared myself. Experience has taught me that attitude often tells you more than the charge itself. Then she walked in. Patricia Whitmore. They're cited for driving 25 miles over the speed limit in a residential neighborhood, according to the officer's notes. She had argued during the stop, insisted she was too important to be detained, and initially refused to sign the citation. Nothing criminal beyond the violation itself, but the tone was telling. She entered the courtroom dressed in designer clothing, carrying a luxury handbag that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Her eyes never left her phone. She typed as she walked, as if the entire courtroom were merely background noise in her day. Everything about her posture, her expression, her pace, it all conveyed the same message. This is beneath me. I said, "Miss Whitmore, you're here regarding a speeding citation. Please approach." She moved forward slowly, still staring at her screen. "Miss Whitmore," I said more firmly, "I need your full attention. Please put your phone away." She looked up at me, irritation written plainly across her face. "I'm handling important business matters," she replied. "Can we make this quick? I have actual important things to do today." The air in the courtroom shifted instantly. Conversations in the gallery stopped. Even my clerk froze for a moment. I kept my voice steady. "Miss Whitmore, you were cited for driving 55 in a 30-mile power zone. How do you plead?" She exhaled sharply. "This whole thing is ridiculous. That speed limit is absurd for that road. I drive it every single day, and I've never had a problem." "That's not what I asked," I replied. "How do you plead to the charge?" She waved her hand dismissively. "Fine, whatever, I was speeding. Can I just pay this and leave?" "I don't have time for this." I reviewed the citation carefully. "Miss Whitmore, 25 miles over the speed limit in a residential area is serious. There are children, family." She cut me off. "I know that neighborhood. Those people should teach their kids not to play near the street. I shouldn't have to crawl at 30 miles an hour because parents can't supervise their children properly." A ripple of disapproval moved through the courtroom. Someone in the gallery actually muttered under their breath. I held her gaze. "Miss Whitmore, the speed limit exists to protect everyone in that community, not just children. Your attitude toward this citation concerns me." "My attitude?" Her voice sharpened. "My attitude is that I'm a successful businesswoman being lectured by a small-town judge about driving on a road I use daily. This is a waste of my time and taxpayer money." I rose from the bench. "Miss Whitmore, I'm going to remind you that you are in a courtroom. You will show respect for this process." "Respect for what?" she shot back. "For you rubber-stamping tickets to generate revenue?" "I know how this works. I'll pay you a fine and be done with it." "Miss Whitmore, your fine for this violation is $350 plus court costs." She laughed, not nervously, not politely, but dismissively. "That's it? I spend more than that on lunch. Just add it to my credit card, and I'll be on my way." I looked at her carefully before responding. "This isn't a restaurant, Miss Whitmore. This is a court of law, and you are treating it like a minor inconvenience rather than a serious matter." "Because it is an inconvenience," she said flatly. "You're acting like I committed a crime for driving a little fast on an empty road." I pulled up her driving record on the screen before me. "Miss Whitmore, I'm reviewing your record. You have 3 prior speeding citations within the last 2 years." She shrugged. "So what? I paid them all. That's how this works, right? You issue tickets, I pay them. Everyone moves on." "No," I replied evenly. "That is not how this works. Each violation represents conduct that could seriously harm another person." She rolled her eyes dramatically. "Oh, please. I'm an excellent driver. I've been driving for 30 years without a single accident." "Your lack of accidents is fortunate," I said, "but it does not excuse repeated violations." And then she said something I have never forgotten. "Look, Judge," and the way she said my title carried unmistakable condescension. "I am a busy person. I run 3 companies. I employ over 200 people. I contribute more to this city's tax base than most people in this courtroom will earn in their entire lifetimes. An audible gasp swept through the gallery. I responded calmly. Miss Whitmore, your financial status is irrelevant to your obligation to follow traffic laws. Really? She replied coldly. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like this entire system exists to shake down people like me. People who actually contribute to society. My voice hardened. Miss Whitmore, I am going to ask you one final time to show respect for this court. And if I don't, she challenged, find me more money I don't care about? You can't intimidate me. I'm not some scared kid or poor person who has to bow and scrape before you. The courtroom fell into absolute silence. I let the weight of her words settle before speaking again. Miss Whitmore, your attitude in this courtroom concerns me just as much as your speeding violation. Both demonstrate a troubling disregard for rules and for the safety of others. She casually lifted her phone again and glanced at the screen. Are we done here? Because I have important meetings today. Put that phone down, Miss Whitmore, I said firmly. Actually, she said coolly, I think we are. She turned toward the door. Send me the bill. I'll have my assistant pay it. My voice rose, sharp and unmistakable. Miss Whitmore, if you take one more step toward that door without my permission, you will be held in contempt of court. She paused mid-step and turned back slowly, a smirk forming on her face. Contempt? For what? For not being impressed by your little kingdom here. The courtroom stirred, for showing repeated disrespect to this court, for attempting to leave in the middle of an active hearing, and for demonstrating the exact attitude that makes you a danger on our roads. Her eyebrows shot up. Danger. I'm a danger because I don't grovel before a judge in a tiny municipal court. I allowed my voice to carry through every corner of the room. You're a danger because you believe rules do not apply to you. You're a danger because you think your wealth exempts you from basic courtesy and legal responsibility. And you're a danger because you've shown no regard for the safety of others. This is absurd, she snapped. I'm leaving. She took another deliberate step toward the exit. Bailiff, I said firmly, please ensure Miss Whitmore remains in this courtroom. For the first time that morning, something shifted in her expression. A flicker of uncertainty. The confidence that had wrapped around her like armor began to thin. You can't keep me here, she said, though her voice no longer carried the same certainty. Miss Whitmore, I replied evenly, I absolutely can. You are in my courtroom, and you will remain here until this hearing is concluded. Now sit down. She stayed standing, chin lifted in defiance. Miss Whitmore, I said, each word deliberate. Sit down now, or I will add a contempt charge to your speeding violation. A long pause. Then slowly, she stepped back into place. Good, I said. Now let's discuss your situation clearly. I folded my hands on the bench. You were cited for excessive speeding in a residential area. This is your 4th speeding ticket in 2 years. You have shown no remorse, no understanding of why this matters. You have repeatedly disrespected this court. I don't have to stand here and be lectured by yes, Miss Whitmore, I interrupted calmly. You do. That is exactly what is happening right now. I leaned back slightly. The original fine was $350. I let that number sit in the silence. However, given your behavior in this courtroom, I am increasing the fine to the maximum allowable amount, $500 plus court costs. For the first time, her composure visibly cracked. You can't do that, I can, I replied. And I am. A quiet murmur moved through the gallery. In addition, I continued, you are required to complete a certified driver safety course within 30 days and provide proof of completion to this court. Her disbelief returned, this time edged with frustration. A driver safety course. I've been driving for decades. Clearly not successfully, I said evenly. Given your 4 speeding violations in 2 years, you will complete the course. This is outrageous, she said. I'll appeal it. You'll absolutely have that right, Miss Whitmore. And I encourage you to explain to an appellate judge how you conducted yourself in this courtroom today. We'll see how sympathetic they are. The room was silent again. Her arrogance was no longer firm. It was cracking. Furthermore, I continued, I am adding a contempt of court charge for your behavior today. Her eyes widened. That's an additional $200 fine? For what? She demanded. For not kissing your ring? For repeatedly disrespecting this court? For attempting to leave during an active hearing? for demonstrating complete disregard for legal proceedings. I reviewed the total aloud. So your total fine is now $700 plus court costs, bringing the total to $850. In addition, you are required to complete mandatory traffic school. The color drained from her face and then returned in a deep red flush. For the first time since she had walked into that courtroom, she looked less like a confident executive and more like someone who realized her own behavior had consequences. "You're punishing me for being successful," she said quietly, but there was no longer conviction behind it. "I am holding you accountable," I replied, "for breaking the law and for showing contempt for this court. Your wealth is irrelevant. Your success is irrelevant. As a citizen, you are bound by the same laws as everyone else in this room." And for the first time that morning, she had nothing to say. "I want to speak to your supervisor," she said, voice sharp but slightly strained. "I don't have a supervisor, Miss Whitmore," I replied calmly. "I am the chief judge of this municipal court. But as always, you are welcome to appeal." She stood there, silent for the first time, perhaps realizing that her money, her status, her influence, none of it carried weight in this courtroom. I leaned forward slightly, letting my words fill the room. "Miss Whitmore, I want you to understand something. This court sees people from every background. Some can barely afford their fines. Others, like you, treat them as pocket change. But the law applies equally to everyone. Still," she said nothing. "When you speed through residential neighborhoods, you're not just breaking a rule, you're risking lives. Children live there. Elderly people walk there. Families exist there. Your convenience is not more important than their safety." I paused, letting the silence sink in, then continued. "Your attitude today showed me exactly why you keep getting tickets. You don't believe rules apply to you. You think your business success exempts you from basic courtesy and legal obligations." For the first time, her expression betrayed discomfort rather than defiance. "I'm going to tell you what I tell everyone who comes before me. This court values character far more than your bank account. Today you demonstrated very poor character." She finally spoke, her voice quieter, more tentative. "Can I just pay the fine and leave?" "Yes," I said. "But first, you will apologize to this court for your disrespectful behavior." "What?" she asked, incredulous. "You heard me? Apologize, or I will add another contempt charge." She stood still, pride and pragmatism warring visibly across her face. "Miss Whitmore." "I am waiting," I said firmly. She exhaled, then spoke carefully this time. "I apologize for my behavior in court today." "Miss Whitmore," I pressed, "say it like you mean it." She drew in a slow, steady breath. "Your Honor, I apologize for being disrespectful to you and to this court. My behavior was inappropriate." I nodded. "Apology accepted. Now let me be absolutely clear about what happens next. You will pay $850 in fines and costs. You will complete traffic school within 30 days and provide proof of completion to this court. If you receive even one more speeding ticket in the next year, I will personally review your case and consider a license suspension." She nodded, subdued. "And Miss Whitmore," I added, lowering my voice so it carried weight, "the next time you drive through that neighborhood at 55 miles an hour, I want you to remember this moment. Remember that your time is not more valuable than other people's lives." "Yes, Your Honor," she replied. "You're dismissed. The clerk will process your payment." I watched her walk toward the clerk's office. She moved differently now, less arrogantly, more soberly. Perhaps she was beginning to understand that respect isn't purchased or demanded. It is earned through behavior, through character. You see, when we achieve success, we have a choice. Use it to demand special treatment, or use it to remember that wealth and status do not exempt anyone from basic decency and legal obligations. In my courtroom, character matters infinitely more than your bank balance.